So let's think about, for a moment, as we think about God's ideality. Remember, God's ideality is his inherent and infinite perfection. It signifies his complete and flawlessness. It signifies he is infinitely perfect. In these texts, what does God mean when he tells us that all things are from him, through him, and unto him? What is he telling us? What is God saying to you when he says that all things, everything that exists, is from him, is through him, and is unto him?
He owns it all.
He owns it all. Good. He owns everything because he made everything, right? Good.
Made by him, sustained by him, and for him.
Good. So everything that exists is made by him, sustained by him, through him, and is ultimately to his glory, unto him. It is for him. It's all perfect. God has made everything to be the way he wants it to be. Even the entrance of sin is according to his plan, though it mars that original creation, and he is working it all according to the counsel of his will and for his glory. But everything is from God, through God, and to God. If you think about it, that means, and we're going to cover this a little bit later, that there was a time, we'll cover it very quickly, when there was nothing but God. Everything that exists, no matter what it exists because of God. He gave it being. That means God is himself being. He is. He didn't become. You're going to see this in a moment when we get to Aseity. He didn't create himself. He is. How does this help you think about his ideality? How might you think of his ideality? The text in Acts says something about God. It says very similar to Romans. Romans chapter 11, verse 35 tells us. What's one way we might see from that verse God's ideality? He doesn't what?
Doesn't have need of anything.
He doesn't have need of anything. What about us? Do we have needs? Do you have needs? All kinds of needs. Maslow hierarchically put them together for you, right? You have all kinds of needs. God has no needs. No needs. What does that mean? What does that imply? What does it almost expressly state? He is what? Self-sustaining. He is perfect. He has all that is needed. There's nothing that can be added to him. Nothing that can be added. No one can give anything to him. That's an amazing statement. That cannot be said of any other thing in the universe. Every other thing in the universe has to have its being given to it. It comes from God. It has to have its being sustained. It is through God. And it ultimately has a purpose that isn't about itself. It's to God. That's an amazing statement. These are big, big verses. I mean, we just read them and think, everything is from God, through God, to God. That says so much theologically about who God is, compacted into one little statement. Why is the being of God, especially his ideality, so central to Paul's proclamation to the heathen in Acts 17? Why does Paul zero in on the suppressed knowledge of God in his divine being and power? Why does he go for that with these Athenians?
They were looking for the perfect God.
Yeah. They had every god, right? They were like they didn't leave any stone unturned. They're going to have so many gods. They're going to worship everything they can worship because they don't want to miss out on anything. And just in case, let's have an unknown God and we'll put a temple up for that one just so no god gets left out. And Paul says, you're looking for God? There's only one. Let me tell you who he is. Let me tell you, this God you don't know, who he is. Very good. What else might you think? Why is that central to his proclamation? Any thoughts? I'm not looking for a right answer here. Just, what are your thoughts?
Their worship would have been transactional, right?
Ah, good.
I do sacrifices, I do this, I do that, and then God's blessing. So Paul's saying God doesn't need that.
Yep. Do you guys see that? Transactions with God, quid pro quos, can't exist. What's necessary for a quid pro quo? Both parties are what? In need of something. They need something. You can't have that with God. You can't do anything for him because he doesn't need anything. So you can't render unto him so that he would render back to you. You can't perform a work so that he would just say, okay, boy, you did a great job. Let me give you this now, because he got something from you that he needed. When you have done everything he commands, you must even say to yourselves, we are what? Unprofitable servants, for we have only done that which is our duty. We cannot render to him and get anything back. But the whole point of the Athens situation is they were doing exactly that. They were trying to render to every god and were afraid to miss one. Paul says, don't you realize the true God? He doesn't dwell in temples made with human hands. You can't do anything for him. You can't add anything to him. He is ideal. He is perfect. He is infinite. Very good. Very good. Yes? That's exactly that. And who said that this morning? If you put God in a box, he's not God. You put it in the box? Augustine. Augustine said, when you've comprehended God, it's not God you've comprehended. When you've put God in the box, it's not God you put in the box. Very good. Quoting Augustine for us in modern vernacular. Very good. All right. How does God's ideality provide courage and confidence to his people? That's Psalm 18. Anybody? How does God's ideality provide courage and confidence to his people?
Because he's perfect already, he won't change.
Very good. We're going to find that everything we cover this morning about the doctrine of God is so intertwined and related. God and his perfection can be counted on because he will not change. How can he who is perfect change? What would it mean if the perfect changed? What would it change to? Either imperfect or more perfect, which means it wasn't perfect because it changed to perfect, or changed from perfect to imperfect.
Not infinity and beyond.
Exactly. There's no beyond in infinity. That's excellent. So Buzz Lightyear was not a great theologian. There's to infinity, and then there's nothing. There's just infinity. Good. That's very good.
Antithetical to the Athenians, because their deities were kind of like magical men.
Yes.
A lot of times petulant, warred with each other like in their mythology or whatever. So they wouldn't have had a concept of what one perfect being
Exactly.
is, completely different than how we do.
As Luther said to Erasmus, Paul was saying to the Athenians, your thoughts of God are too low, too human. Right? They're too human. God is ideal, infinite, incomprehensible, unchanging. All right, page 210 in the book. You don't have to turn there. You can if you want. God's all-sufficiency ensures that his purpose for our lives is perfect. Paul, it's perfect. He orders our lives by his sovereign will so that nothing can be added to it or taken from it. He brings everything infallibly to completion. God's all-sufficiency certifies the ideality of all he does, so that we must revere rather than challenge his decisions and doings. Since our ideal God supplies our needs from his infinite sufficiency, we should trust, love, seek, serve, and rejoice in him. For all he gives and does, we should bless him. That's a great statement by Greg. That's a great statement. All right. With that, let's move on. We got to get through aseity and immensity. The word aseity, it's a word that most of you probably never used before in your life. And that's okay. It's a Latin word. comes from two words in the Latin. The first one is a or a from, which means from. And the other is se. So it's ase. Ase. Se is of him, is himself. So from himself is what ase means. And so the word aseity addresses God's independence or solitariness. God is from himself. Let's look at some reference texts for this. If you would, let's start with John chapter 5. John chapter 5, verse 26. It's a great text also for Trinitarianism. But here we are looking at the aseity of God. We'll see that it's the aseity of God, the Father and the Son. Verse 26. Jesus says, "For as the Father hath life in himself, so hath he given to the Son to have life in himself." We just read in Romans 11:36 that all things that exist are from God. That God alone is not from God, and not from anything. He exists. He has being. Everything that came into being from him. So when Jesus says the Father hath life in himself, what's he saying? Everything else got its life or its being from whom? From God. It's dependent. God, he says, has life in himself. He's self-sustaining, self-existing, right? He is from himself or of himself, we're going to see, but not self-created. Why isn't God self-created? Good. Can you see the wrongness of even the phrase self-created? In order to create, what must something be? It must be, right? In order to create something that creates something must exist in order to create. So how can you be self-creating? You have to be before you are, which is it's a logical fallacy. You cannot be self-creating. So basically what Jesus is saying is that the Father has life in himself. He is being, and he is eternal being. He has always been. He will always be. God simply is. He has life in himself, and he gives life and breath and all good things to creation. Where did we learn that? Acts chapter 17, right? He is the one who gives all life, all breath. So when somebody says, I know that my entire life depends upon God, my very next breath depends upon God, they're saying nothing different than what Jesus says here, the Father hath life in himself. So does the Son. Look at the next phrase. So hath he, and this is the really, wow, marveling, so hath he given to the Son to have life in himself. The Son is ase in relation to the Father. Wow. That's an amazing statement, not for me to cover. Now, let's look at another text. Exodus 3:14. God's aseity. God is self-existing. He is not dependent on anything for his existence. No one created him. He didn't even create himself. God just simply is. Exodus 3:14 shows us this. Moses is before God, and Moses is being sent to the people of Israel. And Moses says, what is his name? What shall I say to them when they ask me, what is the name of God? And God said unto Moses, I am that I am. And he said, thou shalt say unto the children of Israel, I am, hath sent me to you. Think about that phrase, those words, I am. That was the unpronounceable name of God, YHWH, right? We put letters in it and we call it Yahweh, right? Yahweh. So that was the divine name. But what does I am mean? What type of construction is it? It's a personal pronoun I, and then a verb. What's the verb? A present tense verb of being. That's what am is. I am. I am is a first person singular pronoun with a present tense verb of being. I, not was. I, not will be. I am. So when God gives Moses his name, he is saying, I am the self-existent one. I am the one who of himself has being and gives being to all things. All things, we live and move and have our being where? In him. In him. Because he is I am. He is being. Okay, let's look one more, Revelation 4:8. The great I am is also he which was and is to come. Verse 8. And the four beasts had each of them 6 wings about him, and they were full of eyes within. And they rest not day and night, saying, Holy, 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 Lord God Almighty, which was and is to come. So here is this, whoever liveth, he is eternal God. So basically the great I am, who is being, is the one who was and who is to come. He wraps all of it up in himself. All of it is comprehended in him. This is God's aseity. This is God's self-existence. Now let's ask some questions. What does it mean for God to have life in himself? Jesus says the Father has life in himself. What does that mean? What does it mean for God to have life in himself? What do you think about that? Any thoughts?
I always looked at it as if he's timeless.
Good.
When I look at God, he's just without time. He's been infinite past and infinite
Very good.
future, and that's what I think it is when he says, "I am."
Mm-hmm. Yes. Very good. If you think of, we're going to see the relationship when we get to God's eternity, between God's eternity and his aseity. Before God created anything, before anything existed, before even time existed, who was there? God. Who is and was and is to come. Who I am. He was there. If God was there before he created and time even came into being, how long was he there before that happened? An infinity of time. Eternity. No beginning. He was and is to come. He is, I am. So if we think of it this way, then what does God need? If God needed anything, what would that anything have needed to be? It would have needed to have existed when? If God needed anything, if he needed us, if he needed creation, if he needed angels to worship him, if he needed anything, then how long would that anything have needed to exist? Infinitely, forever.
Could you even say that, talking about infinitely, in the past is an analogy too?
It is.
Outside of time, too.
Exactly.
It's just a way for us to understand it.
Excellent. It's also an analogy, analogically. We're talking about timelessness using time. Infinite means what? Not finite. We can't even understand the concept of infinity. We're not able to comprehend. We can apprehend things about it by analogy, but we can't comprehend it. Okay, very good. Next, I am. How does the divine name proclaim his aseity? Remember, aseity is from himself or of himself. How does the name I am proclaim his aseity? Any thoughts? I gave you the present tense, right? It's a present tense. How does that proclaim aseity? Think about it, put it in your own words. How does, I'm not going to talk this morning about divine simplicity, but divine simplicity is one of those doctrines that men parrot back the facts, but it's like, and the things they say, it's like, okay, all you're doing is saying the same things over and over again and not really helping me understand what does it mean. So when you think of something like this, aseity, God says, I am. You can't say that. You can say, I am, I exist like I exist. So you could be like Rene Descartes, I think, therefore I am. But that's not the same thing as this. God is saying, this is who I am. I am being, I am. How does that proclaim aseity? You got to think a little bit deeper.
He doesn't compare himself to anything else or make an analogy to anything else.
That's really good. That's good. So if I say I am in relation to what? You. I am in relation to the world. I am in relation to the space that I'm in. I am in relation to time, to what happened 2 minutes ago and what happens next. I am in a relationship. Very good, Benjamin. But God does not do that. He simply is I am. What else? Any other thoughts? Just think through how does I am relate to of himself, from himself?
Well, everything else has a beginning.
Good. Good. Everything else has a beginning. Very good. God has no beginning.
He's his own power.
He is. He is. Yes. He is life in himself. He is life in himself. Okay. Why might understanding God's aseity be important to Christians? And why might it be important to leaders? Why is this concept, which seems profound and almost new, like it's not new. Christians have been talking about this since the first century, so it's not new. But why is it important for Christians to understand God's aseity?
I feel like it would give you peace. I feel like it would give you peace because we know we serve a God and He's not like us.
Very good. He's not like us. I like that. Gives you peace to know He's not like us. Yes. He says it gives you peace to know we serve a God who is not like us.
Who's infinitely more.
Yeah.
Because that would put us on the same plane as God if we understood Him completely.
Good.
And He's the same yesterday, today, and forever.
Very good.
And that means the promises that come from Him won't change
Good.
to His people.
It's good.
So we can trust in the fact that He won't change.
Very good. Yes.
It shows his sovereignty,
Ah.
and I think as we go through the study, a word that we seem to have lost, but that he's providential.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know him, we don't understand why he does things, but we know that he'll do it for our good.
Mm-hmm.
So, yet it falls back to that sovereignty and providence.
Yes. Good. I like all of those are really great answers, guys. They get at the heart of what Paul was saying to the men in Athens, that God is in need of nothing. He is of himself, which means he is fully, ideally, perfectly complete. He needs nothing added. Nothing can be taken away. He is. And when we think of that, we can trust him. We can trust him because nobody can change him or give something to him that would change his mind. Whatever his purpose is, as you said, Paul, in his providence, whatever he's doing, he will accomplish it. because he has said so. And no one, nothing in the universe can ever just take him off course or change his mind, because he is of himself. Gets nothing from anything. They cannot add to him. He's perfect in his being. That's an amazing thought. God can be trusted. You can count on his word. He will always do as he says. He will always do as he pleases. There's no one who can tell him what to do. No one who can influence him. There's no lobbying organization in the universe that can make God do something different than what God has purposed from eternity to do. He'll always do it.
He's not limited by time.
Not limited by time. We're going to get to eternity. That's going to be fun. Keep going.
He's not only seen the future, he is the future,
Very
and he's
good.
not surprised by anything.
That's great. That's casting crowns. That's a really good one. God is already there. So bringing some casting crowns in here. I like it. So he is already there. All right. How is Aseity an important message for the modern world? Why do people need to know God is Ase? Why did the men in Athens need to know it? Because that's what Paul basically told them. He is ideal and he is Ase. Why did they need to hear that?
They had to be humbled.
Yeah, they needed to be
They had
humble.
a high view of their own offerings and their own efforts and their own exertions to get to God.
Good.
You have to realize that God doesn't need you.
Very good. They were busy trying to worship finite gods. Somebody said they're gods made after man, like after men's image, like demigods. They were busy worshiping finance gods, finite. Don't worship the finance gods. They were worshiping finite gods, and they were doing this in pride, right? We've got all the bases covered, even the unknown God. They needed to see that they did not know God. They thought they knew God. They did know God, though, in one way. How did they know God? How did they know him? They didn't know him and they knew him. How did they know him? By what kind of revelation? General revelation, which is revealed how? In conscience and creation. Good. They had a knowledge of God. It was what? Suppressed. Paul exposes it. And he exposes that knowledge that they had that they'd been suppressing. And he tells them who is this God who made all things, who is Ase. Very good. Our modern world needs it just as badly, brothers. They don't know God. They don't know whom they worship. They have created an image of God after themselves. They don't have a physical idol, maybe, but they have an idol. God is who they want him to be, who they think he should be. He's like them. And Aseity says, no, he's not at all like you. He is infinite. He is Ase. All right, let's move quickly. Last one. Immensity. Immensity describes God's spatial infinity. Spatial infinity. Immensity describes how God is, number one, not limited by space. Two, he is present in all his fullness everywhere at all times. And three, he is present in a special sense at some points in space and time. So God is everywhere, omnipresent, at all times in all his fullness. Which means that right now God is here, sustaining us, holding everything together. Right? God is present here. He is in China. He is at the Eagle Nebula in our galaxy, and he is in the galaxies millions of light years away. And he is here and there with all his fullness right now. There's not a part of him here and a part of him over there and a part of him over there, as if we get some of God and some of God and some of God, as if he could be divided. He is immense. He fills all. He fills all. That is a very provocative statement, is it not? The omnipresence of God, that God is everywhere at all times, is provocative. And yet, God also makes his special presence known in certain places at certain times. God is everywhere, but when Moses went up onto the mountain, what did he see? A burning bush. Take off thy shoes, for the ground upon which thy walk is holy ground. It's different than all other ground. This ground is now holy. Why is this ground holy? Because God's special presence is being revealed here in the burning bush. The priest, the high priest, goes into the Holy of Holies once a year, and he has to have a rope tied around him, right? You've done lessons on this, Bill, right? And he can only go in there with offerings for himself and for the people, because he's going into the special presence of God. So God is in heaven, and yet God fills all things. God the Son became a man, and yet God is everywhere present and immense and fills all things, the universe. It's not pantheism. God isn't all things. God fills all things and sustains all things. He is everywhere present at all times. He is immense. Let's look at some text. 1 Kings chapter 8. We'll look at verses 27 through 29. But will God indeed dwell on the earth? Behold, the heaven and heavens of heavens cannot contain thee. How much less this house I have built. Let's look at verse 28 and 29. Yet have thou respect unto the prayer of thy servant, and his supplication, O Lord my God, to hearken unto the cry and to the prayer which thy servant prayeth before thee today, that thine eyes may be opened toward this house night and day, even toward the place which thou hast said, my name shall be there, that thou mayest hearken unto the prayer which thy servant shall make toward this place. What do we see in here? We see God's immensity and God's what? Special presence. Special presence. Where two or three are gathered in my name, there I am in their midst. We see his special presence and the heaven and the heavens of heavens can't contain you. Space and time cannot contain God. He is above time. He is above space. He fills all things. Space is contained within him. Time is contained within him. God is immense. Wow. How can that be? Let's look at Psalm 139, verses 7 through 12. This is an amazing thought here that David finds such great comfort. There's comfort and fear at the same time in these verses. 139, 7 through 12. Where shall I go from thy spirit, and where shall I flee from thy presence? David is saying, where can I possibly go that you aren't there? Casting Crowns said, God is in the future. When things happen, God's already there. Meaning that God is everywhere in time. But David is saying, where can I go physically, right? Where can I go in space and you're not there? So he's speaking of God's spatial infinity. Eternity speaks of God's chronological or time infinity. He is above time, he is above space. If I ascend up into the heaven, you're there. If I make my bed in hell, behold, thou art there. If I take the wings of the morning and dwell in the outermost parts of the sea, even there shall thy hand lead me, and thy right hand shall uphold me. Those are anthropomorphisms. God doesn't have hands, right? Those are things to help, analogies that help us understand God's care for us. God, you hold me, you keep me, you are there. Even if I go, I say, surely the darkness shall cover me, even the night shall be light about thee, about me. Yea, the darkness hideth not from thee, but the night shineth as the day, and the darkness and the light are both alike to thee. So David is acknowledging God's omnipresence, his immensity. He cannot get away from God no matter where he goes. God is already there. One more, Jeremiah 23. Jeremiah 23, 24. Let's look at verse 23. Am I a God at hand, saith the Lord, and not a God afar off? He's basically saying there's no deism. Am I a God that's just afar off? Don't care. I'm not here. I'm not eminent. I'm not involving myself in things. Can any hide himself in secret places that I shall not see him, saith the Lord? Do I not fill heaven and earth, saith the Lord? How can God be immense? How can God fill all things? I fill more and more space as I get older. But how does God fill everything? How's that possible? Why is it not possible for you?
He's a spirit.
He's spirit. John 4:20, as we read this morning in John 4:24, God is spirit. God is spirit. He's different from us. We have material, right? He's also what? Not just spirit, but infinite spirit. We are finite. All right, what are the practical implications for your life as a Christian that you can draw from God's immensity? That he is omnipresent, that he fills heaven and earth.
Just the fear of God.
Fear of God.
He knows everything everywhere. Can't escape him.
Yeah. He knows everything. He's everywhere. It's good. And he knows everything, but he's not Santa Claus. Why does he know everything? Because he's everywhere. He doesn't just know it by somebody tells him, or he doesn't know it because his angels come back and report the things that you did. He doesn't know it because somebody informs him. He knows it because he's present. You live every day, coram Deo, in the presence of God. In him you live and move and have your being. In him. He sustains you. He's present everywhere you go. If they put you in jail, he's there with you. He's there with you. It doesn't matter. He's there. That is a powerful thought for us as Christians. God doesn't just know. He knows because he's present. Good. Now, that can bring fear, even trembling. What else can it bring?
What's accountability?
Accountability comes with that fear. Very good. What else can it bring? Comfort, peace, security, courage. Courage in the face of difficulty, in the face of death. God is there. He's there. He will not leave me or forsake me. His rod and his staff, they comfort me. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, he is there. It's a really powerful thing. If God is present everywhere at all times in all his fullness, not a part of him in one place and another part of him in a different place, which, by the way, is divine simplicity, what does it mean for him to be present in a special sense at some points in space and time? The example we saw in 1 Kings was in the house of prayer. What else might you see? What you think? What does that mean? God has a special presence in space and time, but yet
He's not any more or less there than normal, but he's revealing more.
very good, very good. There's a revelation of himself, a revealing of himself. Right? You have examples of this in the Old Testament. You think of Elijah in the 7,000, right? Or you think of God being able to show him something that he couldn't see, but it was, just couldn't see it. But God is everywhere, but God will reveal himself or make his presence known in a special way at some point of time or in some places in space, like when the church is gathered together in worship. Right? When we come to church and we say we're going to the house of the Lord, we're not going to a building that God dwells in. Right? We've seen from Acts and we've seen from 1 Kings, heaven and heavens can't contain him. So we're not going to a place, well, God is there. That's almost like saying that something that happened was a God thing, right? As if God wasn't in control of all things. Saying, well, God's there is like saying, well, God is everywhere. But there is a sense in which God makes his presence in the gathering of his people special. So we can believe both God's immensity and God's special presence at points in space and time, including the gathering of his people as a church, including prayer and the gathering of saints together, and others. What are the implications of this special presence of God upon the church or upon you as a leader in the church?
I think one thing that sometimes I forget is like when we're praying, you're praying to God.
That's good.
You know, when you pray in church, you're not praying to the people.
That's
You're
right.
praying to God.
Yes.
He's there.
He's there.
with you.
It's good. Very good. What else, guys? So think of this. God can make his presence, special presence, in some points in time and space. I gave you an example in Exodus. What was that example? Burning bush. Before that incident, many people might have trod upon that same ground. Was it holy when they did? It wasn't holy ground. What made it holy? God's special presence. So how does this impact us as a church and as leaders in the church? The gathering of God's people is not a common mundane thing. It is a holy time. It is a time of God's special presence. We gather together to worship him. And he says, come together to worship me, and we worship in his presence. It is holy. And to have a sense of the holy when we gather together is like Moses taking off his shoes to walk on dirt that otherwise isn't holy, but is only holy because God has made it holy with his presence. The Holy of Holies was just a point in a place in space and time. It wasn't anything specially holy except God was there. And men don't understand this, and therefore they end up in all kinds of superstition. There's so much superstition out there about holy places and graveyards and this and that. And because it's like this, like the ground or the geography is itself holy. It's God who makes it holy because the Holy One has said, I make my special presence there. So I think it's very helpful for us to think as leaders, we should take the gathering of God's people together as a joyful, holy meeting. It is joyful as we come to fellowship and worship him, but there is a holiness about it. It's a special place that God has said, my presence will be among you, my people. All right, any comments, questions on that before we take our 15-minute break?
Kind of like you were saying, when we come together, we should have a reverence and a fear. So we shouldn't come together. We want our focus to be on God in that time. We don't want to try and bring focus to ourselves. We don't want to be distracted. We want to give that time to God.
Yes. I believe that's really good, Reese. I believe that if you, and look, guys, how many of us have come to church where we were lucky to get everything together and get there? Right? Probably from the moment we got up in the morning until we arrived, we hadn't even thought about the fact we were going to church. We were just focused on, we just had to do everything we could to get everybody there. It happens. I would encourage you to take time. Maybe it's not on Sunday morning because if you have lots of kids and you got to get everybody there, it's chaotic. Just take time on Saturday night to prepare your heart for Sunday and see how that affects when you come in to worship together. Just to remember, God, who is infinite, and I'm going to worship him, is present there. He's present where you are at the moment. But that is where he said, I want to meet with you. And you're together with the people. And when you think like that, you'll start to come to church prepared. We don't need vaulted ceilings that go 100 feet into air to give us a sense of the awe and majesty of God. We don't need stained glass windows to do that. We don't need vestments on the leaders. We don't need all that pomp and circumstance. We just need to know God and come before him and say, we're coming into the presence of God as his people to worship him. I think you'll see it'll help you. But I'm not telling you to do that Sunday morning because you may not get that opportunity. I've been there, right? So, all right, anything else?